Let's go! Arik Gilbert into the portal. I doubt he's coming back to LSU. Even though he's announced that he's in the portal, there's still an opportunity that he decides to come back. I hope you're watching this video, Arik, because I'm about to give you some positive vibes and a heavy dose of reality. Also, a potential LSU offensive coordinator has just hit the market. How awkward would it be if Tom Herman is actually the LSU offensive coordinator after the bombshell report this morning that Texas is going to go with Steve Sarkeesian? So go ahead, subscribe to the channel, comment below your reaction to both of these huge news stories. So, of course, here is Arik Gilbert's official statement on Twitter. After careful consideration and collaboration with my family, I've decided to enter the transfer portal, and I'd like to thank God for bestowing his blessings upon me. So, a pretty cordial thing, and obviously there's idiots on Twitter that are giving him heck for that. I hate seeing that, but to each their own. But I'm actually going to be a little critical of Arik Gilbert in this video, and obviously everyone's going to respond with the same thing. He is doing what's best for him, and yeah, I always want players to do what's best for themselves, and there's not been a bigger Arik Gilbert fan than me. And I even did a 40-minute video for the most part defending him and showing you the trend of five-star recruits that transfer closer to home. So if you want to watch that video, I'll post a link down below. So obviously, here's some quotes here that Ed Orgeron said after the breaking news from Shea Dixon. And this is from a few months ago when the initial Arik Gilbert opt-out story happened. Arik and I had a good conversation on Tuesday. He told me that he was opting out. He said his body was hurting, and he had some things he had to take care of. Okay. And for those of you that say Arik Gilbert quit on his team, you're right. And there's no other way around it, especially if you're a true freshman and you're not necessarily opting out to get ready for the NFL draft. What Terrace Marshall did is nothing as close to what Arik Gilbert did. And like I said, different people have different health issues, mental health. All of that is obviously very important. And as I've always said, I don't want players in my locker room that don't want to be there. That is hard on him mentally. That's hard on your team mentally. Ultimately, more often than not, if a player wants to be there or not. And as you can see here, Arik Gilbert was obviously the biggest name here, the five-star recruit, the highest-rated tight end ever. Like we've been saying for months, heck, he went to Amite High School. Devonta Lee could be the next Devonta Smith. We don't know it. We've yet to see Devonta Lee really play on either side of the ball outside of special teams. Aaron Moffatt, who graduated this year, never really played a whole lot. But here are the two big names you need to look at here. Nick Storrs, a former LSU baseball player, who mostly serves as a blocking tight end for LSU. But Cole Taylor, as most of you know him, the Shoegate, that's Cole Taylor. So obviously, Cole is going to take on a bigger role now that Arik Gilbert's gone. You do you. Everyone should make their own decisions in life, and I totally get that. But legit, from a neutral perspective, I think Arik Gilbert is making a bad move. So, as you can see here, Arik Gilbert, freshman, Marietta, Georgia. But I want you to look at this, okay? 35 catches, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 10.5 average. First thing about these numbers, and I have stated this in every single video that we've done on Arik Gilbert, and even our before the season projections, there has never been a true freshman tight end in the SEC that has caught more than 30 passes outside of Jalen Werdemeyer last year for Texas A&M. And as we all know, Jalen Werdemeyer is the second best tight end in the SEC behind Kyle Pitts. So as a true freshman, Arik Gilbert actually set the receptions record for a true freshman tight end. And immediately, he got playing time. Immediately, he won the starting job. That's really hard to do at a Power 5 school, to win a starter's job as a pass-catching receiver. I want you to think about all the great LSU wide receivers and or tight ends. How many of them walked in and started as a true freshman? Not many. Think about it. All these NFL greats, Jarvis Landry didn't start as a true freshman, okay? The list goes on and on. Jamar Chase didn't start as a true freshman. Justin Jefferson had to wait his turn. All these guys had to wait their turn except for Arik Gilbert, who won the job over a guy who had been waiting his turn in Jamal Pettigrew, who obviously transferred to McNeese. So the first mistake here, from my mind, is that when you go to the big schools, it is hard to win a starter's job. Remember, Arik Gilbert played 8 games. 8. So he basically averaged over 4 catches per game. That's ridiculous for even a wide receiver. And Arik Gilbert wasn't even the number one option. Terrace Marshall was the number one option. And on top of that, Arik Gilbert's big breakout game came against who? Missouri. 6 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown, and they probably should have thrown to him even more. But here's the thing about the Missouri game. Your starting quarterback got hurt, and he's going to be healthy, and he's going to be back next season. And he started targeting you a lot. Yes, look, when Miles Brennan was the quarterback, you had 14 catches in the first 3 games. And even with backup true freshman quarterbacks, they targeted you a lot. Now, we did a Texas A&M film study where TJ Finley just missed Arik Gilbert a lot. And I understand that that could be frustrating. And I know that they asked him to block a lot. Okay, but that's just part of it. Once Torrey Carter started getting injured and LSU started playing more true freshmen, they started to ask Arik Gilbert to be more of a lead blocker. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think that they should have split him out more and used him a little bit more as a wide receiver. But once again, true freshman playing time is few and far between. And I'm going to show you how this might actually backfire for him. So I want you to see this guy, and I watched him play yesterday. Darnell Washington, a 6'7" true freshman tight end from Las Vegas, Nevada. So Darnell decides to go to Georgia, and I definitely opened up after Arik Gilbert decided to go elsewhere. Once again, this is a 6'7" target. He had 1 catch for 26 yards. Didn't get any catches. And it wasn't until the end of the year they started realizing, oh, we got a 6'7" freak. Let's start throwing him the ball. And he was dominant. And he finished the year 7 catches for 166 yards. Arik Gilbert had 5 times the amount of catches in 2 fewer games. And I know Alabama's another school that's rumored for Arik Gilbert. Well, Alabama probably has the hottest tight end in the SEC right now, and Jaleel Billingsley. Now, don't get it twisted. Pitts and Werdemeyer were better this year, but how many tight ends return kicks? Jaleel Billingsley returns kicks. 6'4". This guy scored a touchdown against LSU. He scored a touchdown in the game versus Notre Dame. He's a beast. And a lot of his catches, let's be honest, are a byproduct of Devonta Smith drawing coverage. But still, this dude will be in the NFL one day. Does Arik Gilbert think that he's going to beat this guy out once he steps on campus? He very well could. And look, I've said this plenty of times. Do what makes you happy. And I was a gigantic Arik Gilbert fan. He is the most unique recruit that LSU has ever had at their school. Okay? We have never gotten someone like this guy. And we gave him basically everything he could have wanted. Playing time, lots of targets. Probably asked you to block a little too much. But, I mean, if you play tight end, you're going to block some. I can understand if you're not happy and you want to move closer to home and the pandemic. Everyone has their personal problems. But you are a true freshman, and you had it better than 90% of the true freshmen that go to a Power 5 school. So I wish him nothing but the best, but I hope he reconsiders and stays, not only for the program that I love, but for himself, because this is a golden ticket. Let's go. One more thing we should, factor into all of this. Maybe there are some off-the-field things that we don't know about, some locker room things that we don't know about. Like I said, Arik Gilbert understands that situation more than me. So if that plays a role, I will totally get that as well. But from a pure football perspective, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Should LSU really pursue Tom Herman as the offensive coordinator? Let's take a look at the numbers. So, Texas to hire Alabama offensive coordinator Steve Sarkeesian after firing Tom Herman after 4 seasons with the Longhorns. First thing, as we pointed out in our offensive coordinator piece, Steve Sarkeesian was never coming to LSU, especially if you're going to get a job like Texas. We go here to points per play, all right? And some of you are already emailing me and texting me about the Arik Gilbert news. This is a stat, as many of you know, that I hold more into account than any other stat regarding offensive and defensive play calling. How good are you on a play-by-play basis? And as you can tell here, Texas was better per play than Iowa State. And as you can tell here, the Big 12 offenses this year weren't really all that effective. Even Oklahoma State, who had a very good year, was 7th in yards per play. So how did Texas do in 2019? Well, 6.37, which is actually good as well. Then we go to 2018, 5.51. This was year 2 of the Tom Herman era, and then year 1, they were obviously awful. But then again, this was him taking over for a very defensive-minded Charlie Strong team. So, it is what it is with the Steve Sarkeesian and Tom Herman. And you notice here, obviously this is a way oversimplified look at this. Offensive coordinator Steve Sarkeesian was 46-35 at Washington and USC, and only 1 season of more than 8 wins. Herman with a 54-22 career record. What Jim Neville fails to mention is a lot of those wins were at Houston. So, coaching at a non-Power 5 versus a Power 5, and remember when Sark was at USC and Washington, the Pac-12 was better than what it is now. So, let me know what you think. Do you think Tom Herman is a good fit for the LSU offensive coordinator's role? I wouldn't mind it. I just don't like hiring fired head coaches who are going to get a huge buyout. I think Herman's buyout is going to be pretty large. I think 10, 15, 20 million range, large. So, yeah, I think the buyout thing, and it's the same way I feel about Gus Malzahn. These are both guys that were head coaches at top 15 jobs, and they want to just jump into being an offensive coordinator at another school behind Ed Orgeron. I don't know how well that actually fits, but Tom Herman is a very talented play caller for a reason. So let's have a discussion in the comment section. Obviously, there's a lot going on today with all the commitment announcements, and we got a lot of videos coming. It's Power Hour LSU. Boom! Bam, bam, bam. All righty. I think my mom got me some chicken sandwiches. I'm going over to my mom's house.